Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Gupshop on Matt Digital. Here we are, first day of second test match at Southampton. Today I've got a big Pakistani fan with me on my right hand side, Saqib Salim. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
All good, alhamdulillah, by yourself?
Alhamdulillah. Pakistan lose the first test match after such a brilliant performance for three and a half days, 3 days and the fourth day, and then they crumble. Any thoughts on that first before we get on to the next one?
I think Nasser Hussain's lines 3 years ago, Pakistan cricket at its best is 1 minute down, next minute up. But I mean, after that game, we've just been down. I think it's going to be hard for them to come back after that. Even as a fan watching that last day, day 4, it was difficult and don't know where it went wrong, to be honest. Captaincy, probably, obviously the batting. I think young fast bowlers, where do you start?
Okay, I mean today they were saying that Southampton, we got different new start. Pakistan win the toss again.
Yeah.
One change, everybody was crying out for Fahd Alam to play. So eventually, when you saw his name this morning, what were your thoughts?
About 10 years too late, to be honest. I think when he first started, he looked a batsman that could do quite well. He got that century against Sri Lanka. Remember, I think it was that goal, wasn't it, in Sri Lanka? And for 10 years to not pick him, now he's 35, so they're setting him up to fail, I think, in a way. And he got 0 today, and I think he's just trying to prove, the selectors maybe trying to prove themselves right, potentially, by not picking him. But if they've picked him in the UAE, he would have made runs on their wickets.
Yeah, but the thing is, all our batsmen today, when we were watching the game, they all look the same. It was the same last week. You get one player who makes the runs. Rest of them, flat track bullies, come to England. As soon as the ball moves, as soon as it starts seaming, they crumble. Why?
I think the thing with our players is, as you said, they grow up on these flat wickets. And what they say in Pakistan, once you get to the new ball, it's as flat as a pancake. The Pakistani wickets, even where we've been playing in the UAE, it's soft runs. And this is where, it separates the men from the boys. And a lot of our batsmen, unfortunately, they can't step up when it matters. And I mean, the only one, I think from top of my head, who stepped up in the last 10-15 years or so in England was Mohammed Yusuf. I think Yunis Khan did okay. Misbah wasn't bad last time. But we're hoping it's the Barber show. It's Barber or bust, as they say, for Pakistan at the minute.
Why do you think that whenever they come to England, they can't perform? As a fan, how do you feel today? What was it like to watch the game this morning?
I think it's this test team at the minute is probably the weakest Pakistan test team that we've had for a while. I think what happened today again, is dismisses that, I think, technical deficiencies. I think Shan Masood improved quite a lot, but in a way he was playing all around that. Azhar Ali, again, that was an edge. Abd Ali, I think he did decent for the 60, but he rode his luck as well. And I think, again, he's a player that's made for flat wickets. And I think that's, if you look through our batting lineup again, if you look at technique, it's just Babar Azam. He's the one he puts pressure onto the opposition. He still scores quickly. I think in Test cricket is still necessary because you need to move the game forward. And I think our players struggle to do that. Look at Azhar Ali's innings. How much did he make?
He made 20 again.
How many balls was it off?
Well, he's sort of thinking we should be able to get the stats up, but at the moment we haven't.
I think he, knowing Azhar Ali over the past years, it's probably about 100 balls to get 20. And it just gets Pakistan stuck, doesn't it?
Yeah. It doesn't. It's the sort of thing that when you look at it, I mean, you do need a steady side. But Pakistan come out, the ball seems a bit, and it's the old thing, the old timers, Broad and Anderson. I've got them on back foot all the time.
100 for 2 wasn't that bad, It's the collapse that happened after that. And to be honest, Fawad Alam, in a way, I felt sorry for him. Because he's been thrown into the deep end. To be thrown in against England, when he's not played international cricket for how long? I mean, the last time he played, I think, was the ODI season against Australia a few years back. It's unfair because Pakistan domestic, it's a world away from international cricket.
Yeah, well, he played his first game after 11 years. 88 test matches in between.
Yeah.
And that is shocking that somebody who has been out that long and then expected to come in.
I think if he played...
There was too much pressure on the guy.
Yeah.
Well, we got on Facebook, we were joined by Ibrahim Hussain, also Chaudhry Aslan Ali, your cousin. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, he's watching us and stuff. And Qasim Awan joined us as well. Chaudhry Aslan's giving you, salam to you and myself, and says, good show. Thank you very much. Keep coming, keep joining. If's joined us from Birmingham as well. Welcome to the programme.
Me and Aslan were discussing yesterday, where's the attacking flair of Pakistan cricket?
But they are attacking, but the wrong way.
The wrong way, they get out. Like Abid Ali shot in the first Test match, in the second innings, reckless. There's no need for it. And again, I think it comes down to technique as well. What do you think?
You're born in England. Why are you supporting Pakistan? Born and bred, you got Pakistan shirt on. Why?
Do you know what it is? It's like, for example, it's like asking an Englishman who's living in Spain, why would you support England in football? Like, football to England is what cricket is to us, is a power, identity. English team, to be honest, until Adil Rashid or Moin Ali came in, it was hard to support them because you don't see our own people playing in a team. But
well, we had Sajid Mahmood playing briefly.
We did, but do you know what it is? Pakistan's it's a jazba. It's just a special spot in Pakistan. It's a different feeling altogether. Although they break your heart, more often than not, but we still love the team.
What did you feel like last time when actually they lost on that fourth day? What were you like? What were your feelings that day?
You know what? I was surprised because Pakistan's fast bowling is usually quite good, and I thought Pakistan would defend that 274, especially the way they were talking about the wicket. But I think I wasn't happy with Azhar Ali's body language. I think he's very, very defensive. I know Misbah was a defensive captain as well, but Pakistan used to win under him. And I just think, you hear these stories about Pakistan being aggressive in your face team, but when that partnership happened, it all went. And as the saying goes, you need people to stand up, and nobody stood up at the end, apart from Yasir Shah.
Yeah, I think there was a question that was asked when Pakistan's second inning was about to begin.
Yeah.
England's when they were about to bat, and Nasser Hussain was asked, what are you looking forward to? And Nasser said, basically, I'm looking at Azhar Ali's captaincy.
Yeah.
And the Azhar Ali's captaincy was what the thing he was looking forward to. And unfortunately, he failed.
Yeah, he did. And the thing is, you need people to change the bowlers around, when things are not going right. And Shadab Khan hardly bowled any overs that innings. And what's the point picking two leg spinners? And I'm not even sure if they picked him as a batsman, bowler or all-rounder. It didn't make any sense. And, and as I said, Pakistan cricket, it hardly makes sense, The thing with Pakistan is they can turn up, win, but then they can collapse in one session. But you don't want that. And they were asking Wasim Akram, and he was talking about the beauty of Pakistan cricket being inconsistent. We said that because we're fans, but you don't want that. You want consistency. You want a team that wins. You don't want collapses, like that second batting performance. It was disappointing, very, very disappointing. We effectively threw the game away.
Where do you think Pakistan tend to have 117 for 5, England are, and then Pakistan just fall apart? They can't get that extra wicket.
Yeah.
Is it because they took the foot off the pedal, the gas and stuff, and what was it that was wrong?
Do you know in the first innings, I think was it Naseem Shah hit walks on the head with the bouncer, but then when the quickies were bowling, it was line and length. They were expecting something to happen rather than trying to make it happen. I think Abbas is a top bowler, with the new ball. There's that seam going in and out, like one of my favourite bowlers used to do, Mohammad Asif. It reminds me a bit of him, but I think with the old ball, I think Abbas will struggle to lack of pace. But I think, the two fast bowlers, I think they're young. I can accept young players not getting it right. And I don't think they got it right in that second innings because they were a bit defensive, when Wokes and Butler went after them. If we'd got one of them a bit earlier, I think it was Pakistan's game.
Why do you think, most people were crying out the fact that they should have given some chin music to Chris Wokes because he's a bit of a scared of the fast bowling and stuff?
Now, like Shoaib Akhtar says, you need to have that akar, when you're a fast bowler, you need to have that attitude about you, which I think Naseem Shah has got. But I think, sometimes, you just got to take no nonsense from the opposition. And I think, was it Stuart Broad that was fined for, giving a bit of verbal to Yasir Shah? I think Pakistan need a bit of needle back in their game. Because I think under Misbah Hat, the team became very,
too friendly.
Too friendly. And maybe that was part of the public image that they tried to get right after 2010. But I think Pakistan cricket is based on that, aggressive players. I don't know, some people say it's due to the talent level going down, but I don't believe that. Talent in Pakistan is phenomenal.
Yeah, that is true. But I mean, in terms of like what people have said, we've got Rana Taj, Jamil Saab, he's joined us, Ansar Mahmood Saab, he's on Facebook with us. Ishtiaq Ahmed Saab said Pakistan team is a joke. Bunch of jokers. Waste of time. Come on, we can't say waste of time. I think we have to still carry on supporting them.
Of course. Yeah. There's been a lot of heartbreaks, but equally, this team, we have to support them through thick and thin.
Yeah, we need all of us to support them. I know I'm quite critical of it, but I think, come on, we do have some donkeys in there, don't we?
Of course we do. I don't know. I don't really want to mention names, but I'm going to say the two so-called seniors.
The seniors. Okay, we've also got who else have we? Mohammed Shafaqat Saab from Sheffield joined us. Welcome to the program. Khalid Rashid Saab. Walaikum Salam. Zafar Ali Hero Bhai. Soni Ali Saab. Yeah, if you want to say anything about the Pakistan cricket team, then please mention us. I know it's been a disaster so far. The tour has been. But somebody like you still gets up and watch it. Do you watch every ball?
In Test cricket, it's difficult to watch every ball. I'll watch every session, but sometimes if pop over a cup of tea. Sometimes you have to do other things from time to time, but I'll make sure I keep up to date with it. Like even, for example, if I'm going out, I'll watch it on my phone. I'll go into a shop, I'll have it on my phone. People will be thinking, what's he doing? Test cricket's on. But the thing is, with a lot of Pakistani fans, Test cricket's not as popular as the one day and the T20 game, but the Test cricket is proper cricket. That's where, when your team gets the number one in the world in Test cricket, that's where true cricketers are tested. That's why Imran Khan, I didn't see these players. Wasim Akram, Waka Yunis, I was like, I'm too young to remember them. I started watching cricket in 2003, but they're legends because of what they did in Test cricket, and obviously the '92 World Cup was Wasim Akram. But Test cricket is where they made their name. Yeah,
I think that's important that they've made that. But the current side, again, one of the things I've always said in Pakistan team, we failed, and I've been watching them for 44 years, 46 years now. In 46 years, what I've failed to see that. And I don't know, people will agree with me or not, disagree with you, can actually make your comments, is that Pakistan, when the chips are down, when it comes to, the real hard work, we haven't got that mental strength to get back at it.
I agree with you. I think there's a lot of examples. If you look over the last 10 years or so, it's the Sydney Test match. We've had the Test match against New Zealand a couple of years back. Even in this tour, as you said, Pakistan had the lead of 119 in that first Test
107.
match. 107.
And that's a big lead still.
That's a huge lead. Even if you make 200, that's a tough chase for England. I mean, moving away from the bowlers in the second innings, I think the batsmen should have, they should have took the game away from England. And I think Asad Shafiq's run out, prime example, lets England back into the game. A few silly shots as well. Abad Ali comes to mind. I guess, again, as you said, this mental toughness. Thing is, I think part of the reason for that is, our players, they've been in the wilderness for a long time. They don't play IPL. They don't really play for the big
IPL does not make you any better player, really.
You reckon?
No. IPL, T20 is not really good for anybody.
I think, playing in front of big crowds, I think it makes a difference. Our players are playing the UAE in front of nobody. And, you miss that passion from the crowd, that pressure that you get. But to be honest, I don't know. You've been watching it obviously longer than me. When would you say Pakistan were the mentally strongest?
I think they've never been. They've never been. I think there have been, the odd times they've been good and stuff, but they've never ever been that strong.
Yeah.
They've never been. Come on, yeah, it's in those bags next door. I think they're struggling to get the camera, one of the camera. There's a bag in there, there's a Canon thingy bag, please, in there. There is, batteries are in there, there's a charger, Canon big chain. Come on, lads. What's up with you? You're all wondering. If you people are wondering what's going on, and then we've got just always a technician. What's happened is Akil Saab, Assalamu alaikum, kya haal hai? Khwaja Shafiq Saab, welcome to the program. Welcome to the program. Thank you very much. If you're the cricket fans, I want to hear from the cricket fans. We want to hear from cricket fans. What do you think Pakistan needs to do? Do you think Pakistan will get 200 tomorrow?
I think tomorrow's a huge day.
Yeah.
I think Babar is in, but what I noticed, was one of my friends, Saad, he's a big cricket fan. What he said was, what separates Babar from Kohli, Williamson, Root, etc., is the fact that he tends to fish outside his off.
So we're talking about the score, right? So it's been poor, 5 wickets down, Babar Azam and Rizwan. I mean, there's been a lot of people who are saying that Sarfraz should be back in team and not Rizwan. Your thoughts on that?
I think as a wicketkeeper, he's a top wicketkeeper. I think Nasser was discussing that, in the last game. Some of the takes that he was taking were really good, especially compared to Josh Butler, who's dropping everything like Kamran Akmal. But I think his batting isn't that good, to be honest. He leaves a lot to be desired.
But is he a batsman? That's the question. Do you want play a top keeper or do you play a batsman?
You want both. You want a keeper who could bat well, especially in modern day cricket. If you look around the world, most of the top teams, they have wicket keepers who are really, really good batsmen. Look at England, they got Bairstow, they got Butler. But although Butler's...
Man, you just said Butler was rubbish.
I know he's weak with the gloves, but he's a match winner. Yeah. I would take Butler in the Pakistan team, even though he drops catches. I think he's got that match winning ability like he showed in the last innings. I don't think Rizwan can play that type of innings. I think them times have gone. Like when we used to have Rashid Latif was a good keeper, but his batting, it wasn't that strong, was it?
No, he was a good batsman, but I think
he wasn't
lower down the order. Then you've got Moin Khan, who was a brilliant batsman, but average keeper.
You got people like Dhoni, Gilchrist, who came after that. Even today, if you look into today's cricket, the rest of the teams, they've got keepers who are big hitters. Who have India got? Is it Rishabh Pant?
Yeah.
He's a good batsman. Look at him. Pakistan could do with someone like that.
But the thing is, Rizwan is very early in his test career.
In his development.
And coming into this country, keeping up to when he was actually up to the stumps when Abbas was bowling, and that takes quite a lot of guts. And he did really well on that. And I think as a keeper, he played really well, and now is an opportunity for him to actually,
talk about Safraz. Safraz had his moments with the bat in test matches early on in his career. I remember he used to play that sweep to the quick bowlers in UAE, but again in UAE. But then after that, he dropped off considerably. His fitness went, although now he's looking a lot slimmer. But I think he's in his 30s now, and I think Pakistan should stick with Rizwan at the minute. But I still think surely Pakistan can have a wicket keeper who can take the game away from the opposition with the bat. That's what they need. Kamran Akmal, although he was a horrific keeper, with the bat against fast bowling, he plays some decent innings, from time to time. I don't see that in Safraz and Rizwan.
One of my friends, Rana Tahir Jamil Saab, said they're eating too many burgers.
I'm telling you, Pakistan.
They need real meat
and
desi ghee. Wow. Kya baat hai bhai, desi ghee.
Misbah's changed that, and he's changed their diet.
Raja's words, but come on, yaar. I think whether we say or not, I think I'm dreading the fact that Pakistan are going to get thrashed 3-0.
Yeah, it's not going to be nice, because I think we haven't lost against England in the test stages in 10 years, since 2010. We've beat them in the UAE, whitewashed them twice, and we've drawn twice in England, drew twice.
Yeah, Pakistan haven't won in England since a series since 1996.
Was that when Wasim Makar used to bowl?
Makar and Wasim were at their best, and that was when the last time they actually won a series here. Between 87 and actually 96 is the only time that they won 3 series. 1987 when Imran Khan was in charge, they won 1-0, one game, and then 92 they won 2-1, which was the most controversial tour. But 96 was 2-0 again. That was really well, something that they won. But since then it's actually been downhill. We've had the 2-3 series that were drawn. They lost when Inzamam was in charge in 2006. 2010 was
them two were disastrous. 2006 and 2010.
Nobody wants to remember that 2010 series because it was just awful.
2006, I remember Mohammad Yusuf was class actually. Him, Yunus Yusuf, Inzamam, middle order was terrific. But the problem back then was it used to be Shoaib Akhtar, Mohammad Asif, 2 top bowlers. They were always either injured or controversies. If you had them, Pakistan would have won that series,
Yeah. Well then, in 2006, Shoaib wasn't on the tour.
He played in ODIs after.
Yeah, he played it. He wasn't fit enough. But again, and Asif was another loss. But in terms of Pakistan bowling, would you, as a Pakistan fan, be happy with what we've seen so far?
I think it's certainly better than the batting, especially the second innings, last test match. But do you know what it is? If it's youngsters and they struggle slightly, I don't mind because they're going to develop. Naseem Shah's 17, although I think he's probably got 2-3 years older than that. No, Pakistan's birth certificate.
No, none of that. We're not finger pointing at Pakistan birth certificates. No, that's a dodgy. I mean, what's his name? Shoaib Shahid Afridi was 16 going 22.
Years, I know.
Wakar was 18 going 44. So we've had a few of them.
I think they're both good bowlers. They've shown a lot of talent. He got the hat-trick against Bangladesh, Naseem Shah. Shahid Afridi in 1 day he's been really good. In the World Cup last year, that bowling against Bangladesh. Sure, they got a lot of talent, but the youngsters, you know, they're very, very young. They're going to need developing over time. And I think Yasser Shah isn't the same ball he was 4 years back. I think a fully informed young Yasser Shah 2016 version, I think he balls England out. Although he was very good, I think there's been a slight drop, and I think with age that happens.
Well, no, it doesn't. Look at Broad and Anderson. Yeah. They're mature. They're getting better and better by day.
English players are different to ours. You know, our players, they tend to drop off. Apart from Yunus and Misbah, the rest of them, especially the fast bowlers, Pakistan fast bowlers drop off really quickly. Even Yasser Shah, there's no Pakistan test spinner. Canadia's got 260 test wickets. None of them reached 300. So, based on history, I don't think he's got that long left in him.
Why do you think? Is that because his fitness levels are not that good? He looks like a bit of a... He's put away a few pounds on there. Yes, I've put on a few. Is it because the lack of cricket, the fact that they haven't played test cricket for about 7 months?
I think a lot of the time, you know, it's the opposition. They figure Pakistan players out over time. Think about their first 2-3 years, they come in, they do really well, and then they're nowhere to be seen. It's not the case with Yasser Shah, although there's been a drop. I think what they're saying is his googly. He's not worked on his googly. And he's always bowling the leg break all the time. You know, that's probably maybe an issue. I think Sakil Mushtaq had the same issue, didn't he? You know, he got worked out eventually.
No, Sakil was never worked out. I say that he must be worked out. Sakil was brilliant. I think Saki's knees gave up in the end. He retired, unfortunately. And Saki was just phenomenal. He's the obviously inventor of the...
He used to check everyone, you know, in his prime. You know, what a team that was, though. Do you know, that's one thing with Pakistan. I never saw the 90s team. You know, I started watching cricket Pakistan in 2003 when I was about, obviously, 9,
then you've not seen any cricket.
Then I missed the greatest, probably Pakistan's greatest team, that's what they said, don't they?
Yeah.
But even if you look at the 90s team, a lot of the players, they eventually dropped off over time, you know, like, for example, Saeed Anwar, for example, I know his daughter passed away, which is really sad, but I think a lot of Pakistani players, they lack that instinct to go above and beyond. Look at Alistair Cook, look at Broad, Anderson, who have we had in the last even 10-15 years was done that well. I'm trying to compare it to our great 90s team. We had a lot of players who, natural ability wise, they were better than the English. But English players, I think, they're more hard working than our players.
Why is that? Do you think it's because as we get older, Pakistani people, we just become lazy? Are you saying that?
I think potentially. I think they rest on their laurels. Maybe, you know, another player comes to mind, Hassan Ali. Look at the Champions Trophy. I thought. And I've always bring up the stat, no Pakistan fast bowlers reach 200 test wickets since Waqar Yunis. And we talk about Pakistan's great fast bowling heritage, it is great. But after that, there's a lot of these bowlers and players, they come in, do well for a bit, drop off. Imran Nazir comes to mind, batsman, Yasir Hamid, countless players. I don't know what it is really, it's frustrating though. Because if you look at natural ability, I think Pakistan players are up there. You know.
Yeah, everyone talks about that Pakistan have got the most natural talented team. They produce players in abundance in terms of talent, but we've always and since the days of Saeed Anwar and Amir Sohail, really we haven't found a decent opener. You know, we've had all sorts of, we've had Sami Aslam come in, we've had you know, Imam al-Haq batting as opener, we've had Fakhar Zaman who again was a brilliant one-day player and has disappeared, but obviously he was never cut out for a test player at the moment. We've had Imran Farad, we've had all sorts of Imran Nazir, Salman Butt, not to mention God Almighty, Salman Butt. Here we go again, Salman Butt.
Dreaded Salman Butt.
Yeah, there's so many other ones that have, you know, come in, and Shan Masood. He seems to have, I mean, he struggled 4 years ago when he came with the 2016. Jimmy Anderson worked him quite well over him, but then since then he's actually developed it. Again, the thing is, right, he gets 150 odd in the first innings. 2 innings later, he's got, you know, a 0 and a 1. Now, that is not what's going to make a good opening batsman. What you need is consistency. Abid Ali, who has got fantastic, you know, first-class record in Pakistan, domestic cricket, and he's been brought into the team really, really late. He gets a couple of hundreds, everyone's singing about him. He struggled in the first test match. You could see that you know, not moving at the ball in this country. And then suddenly he does. I mean, he did well today. He got 60 today, didn't he? Yeah. And he's played well. But then, you know, when you get 60, those should be converted to 100. You can't get yourself out. And the Babar Azam was the same in the last test match. 69 overnight. Come in next morning, and he hasn't woken up. At least you know, he's still sat in the dressing room, and you come in and you're not on the ball.
It's what makes the big difference, against an average team, which I would say Pakistan is, and a good test team. You need to make the big hundreds, and not even normal hundreds. I think Babar Azam was talking about making 150 double hundreds, but he got out on 69 in the first test match. And I'm being hypercritical of Babar because he has a lot of potential. As a batsman, he's our best batsman, and our best batsman can't be getting out like that. I think a big problem for us though is our captain is horrifically out of nick, and I think that affects the whole team. And
but should he be in the team? He's not even good enough to have the moment to be in the team.
I think with Azharali, he's always been limited as a player. In his prime, he had a good prime. He used to work really hard in our forward defence, grind teams down. But now he's not got a lot of natural talent, so now his reflexes are starting to go. He's got nothing to fall back on, and I feel sorry for him just watching him play because he shouldn't be there.
Yeah, we've got Khalid Rashid from Middlesbrough joined us. Abid Abrar Hussain Saab was with us. Ayush Sami Sony Bhai, I think it's about who wants them more and just doesn't feel like they are on the field to win. Danga seems to be missing. That's Ayush Bhai is from India. Delhi, he's a cricketer, barrister as well. Zafar Mahmood joined us, Badshah Khan. I think the point Ayush Bhai's made, that the hunger isn't in Pakistan.
The hunger.
Yeah, they've got nobody wants to win it. The other day when England were 117 for 5, you needed to have the kill. Somebody had to go and pick the ball up. And so what did we have? We have everybody bowling 2 hours, 3 hours.
I think
nobody really wanted to ball fast. Where was the fast bowlers? Why were they not given the...
I think, I'm very hesitant to criticise the fast bowlers overly and criticise them too much because they're young. 117 and 120. I think sometimes it's about guidance as well. Young players need guidance. I didn't see our captain really guiding them. And I think part of the reason for that is there's been a big gap in our fast bowling heritage. When Amir and Asif got banned in 2010, and then after that, goal dropped off really quickly, and bowlers that have come after that, Amir came back and he retired. There's no senior telling them what they need to do. And to be honest, even the senior bowlers we have, they're not players that are like world-class bowlers. Like, for example, Wahab Riaz, he's in the squad, he's got 87 test wickets. But there's a big gap. I know Waka Yunis is the bowling coach, but I personally, even though we've got a lot of legends in our coaching setup, I don't know how well that works. There's too many legends in there. Sometimes it can create conflict as well. And, and I think the English system in that sense is a lot better. And they've got players like Broad Anderson. Look how they continue to bowl. Look at Anderson, he's 38 and he's bowling 85 miles per hour. We had Mohammed Amir on the sideline just watching, and it's a bit disappointing. But hopefully these youngsters, what I hope is they continue for a long period of time. And we're not comparing to Wasim and Waqar, at least get 200 test wickets. Like New Zealand got Tim Southee, Trent Boult. We haven't had 2 bowlers like that in a long time.
I think these two, it seems that they've got something about them, both Naseem Shah and Shafidi.
They have,
They've got something that you can compare them to the Wasim Waqars. These are the potential to be the best. And then you've got also Mohammed Abbas, who's Akib Javed was brilliant player, third choice, always first. The first change bowler who could get the wickets and stuff. Yeah. And the ball that Mohammed Abbas bowled to Stokes in the first inning, probably ball of the century, this century, that was just amazing. That how we cut him up. And Ben Stokes is not an ordinary player. He's just exceptional, one of probably the best players in the world. And
we could do with a player like Ben Stokes,
Yeah, he just actually is somebody who doesn't give up. The fantastic ability, fantastic fielder, fantastic ball. Well, and again, if you talk about hunger, which was being mentioned, that hunger, the hunger was there for him to be injured, and then when Pakistan's at the tail end, he said, "Give me the ball." He wanted the ball even when he was injured, and that's where the difference is between people wanting to win for their country and people
just to be like that for England. I think to me, Shoaib Akhtar, all the criticism people give him, he was a player like that. In these moments, he'd want to take the ball and do something for Pakistan, and he would do that. That's why, to be honest, I do miss Inzamam's team because we had match winners, and you knew from any position Pakistan can do it, with the ball. But I think hopefully, inshallah, these 2 players can develop. I just hope they don't run them into the ground. Like that's happened to a lot of our fast bowlers over the past few years. I think Mohammad Irfan came in. he dropped off quickly. I think maybe because of his height and physically, Junaid Khan dropped off. Hassan came and got injured. He dropped off. Goal 2013. I think he was only 29-30 then, wasn't he?
Oh well, when the Pakistani passport
and his knee injuries finished him off, and he didn't even get 200 Test wickets, and it seems as though he was bowling forever, for Pakistan. So hopefully these two players, they stay, relatively injury free. They can do well for a while, because I do think they got potential. I think these series, I don't mind young players not getting it right, but what for Pakistan was frustrating is tried and tested seniors and tried and tested failures.
Yeah, try. And I think it's, on Saturday I took a day off, and there's me Saturday thinking, I said to Mrs., I'm not going anywhere, I'm going to watch Pakistan win today. And then late in the afternoon when wickets were falling, I was out there painting the actual fence. So that's how riveting I was finding it, because it was just difficult.
I started watching it, when I needed 20 runs to win. I said I'm not going to watch it. Then I came back when I needed 10 runs to win. Still had that tiny bit of hope. I thought maybe something's going to happen. Yasir Shah gets broad. I still had a bit of hope. It's the hope that kills you with Pakistan.
Yeah, I think that's a problem with Pakistan side. And again, if you've gone through, I know you've been watching cricket for the last 20 years. For us, somebody like me, we've been watching it for 40 odd years. And in the 40 odd years that we've seen changes, particularly from the sides from the South Asian subcontinent. I'm talking about India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, for example, the teams. India used to struggle. They had brilliant batsmen, brilliant leg spinners and stuff like that, but nothing in terms of they were very poor in the field. Pakistan were very similar, single-minded. The individual players were brilliant. Majid Khan, Zaid Abbas, Sadiq Mohammed, Mushtaq Mohammed. All these players, Asif Iqbal, were brilliant players, but as a team, they were not there. Sarfraz and people like that in the team, Abdul Qadir. Then Imran Khan took over, and the whole thing changed, because somebody believed in winning. Somebody believed in taking a gamble. Somebody wanted to take the game to the opposition. So he changed that. Then also for India, it was they won the World Cup in 1983. Started investing into the young players and stuff like that. Now they wanted to win. So if you see the changes, I've seen the changes. They've become so much better. 1,000 times they've improved from the 70s teams and stuff like that. Now they're going abroad. They're the first Asian side to actually go to win a Test series in Australia.
India,
and that's unheard of. The bouncing wickets and everything.
How would you compare, the 90s Pakistan team to the Indian team now? Which would you say was stronger?
They're probably both equivalent. They would give each other a good game, and I think on the day one of them sides could win, because Pakistan had an exceptional players in there, exceptional batting side, exceptional bowlers, plenty of players on the other side, and it's the same with India. India are extremely powerful at home, pretty good out away from home. But again, India and Pakistan and the Sri Lankans, although over the years they've improved, they played well in England and stuff, they always struggle with seam bowling, when the ball is moving.
One thing, obviously, I do be critical of Pakistan, but I think on the positive side, if you compare, our arch rivals obviously are India. We always want to compare to India, and India always, compare themselves to us, no matter how far we may be in terms of quality at the minute. But in England, I think Pakistan have a better record than India, especially in the last 10 years. In Australia, India is stronger, but when it comes to playing in England, Pakistan are done relatively well. I was looking at head-to-heads as well. Pakistan is a lot better in Test matches against England than India's is, which I think is quite surprising actually, because in the last 10 years, India have had a stronger team. They've had top players like Dhoni, Kohli, Yuvraj, etc.
They've got a huge, fantastic batting lineup. Now they've got fantastic bowlers as well. So Pakistan have got a real raw talent in terms of bowling department.
Yeah, it's all raw though.
Yeah, and then in the batting side, we've got
we don't match up well against India man for man. And if you think about it, we talk about our good fast bowlers, but when it comes to playing against India, a lot of them they get hit easily. Apart from Mohammad Ahmed, who tends to do okay against them. Champions Trophy final. That spell was
I think that's all now in the past. Let's stop living in the past.
I can't forget that Champions Trophy final.
Let's forget that.
I'm going to live off that for the next 20 years.
We can live off that. Probably Amir is living off that one as well on his lives that I played well. That's one game off if we've done and dusted with it. No, I think the current situation, what we're thinking, the current crop of players need somebody who's a leader, and I can't see a single player in Pakistan team who you can say he's a leader. Somebody, you got to be vocal. Somebody's got to get there. Something has to be really different about it, and the current team doesn't seem to be having that.
There's one that he sat on the bench, but the thing is his batting wasn't that good. His wicket keeping wasn't that good, and he was overweight when he were playing. Sarfraz was vocal, but you need to be quality yourself to be vocal. You need to be a good player. You know, I think it's difficult because you're not the minute in that team. There's too much of a gap.
So would you just? I don't know if obviously you will not remember, but Mike Brayley, one of the England's most successful captains. Was hardly wouldn't even get into Middlesex team these days, but he used to be, was the best captain. So he just played as a captain more or less. He hardly ever got the runs when he was playing and stuff. Would you play Sarfraz just as to be a captain?
I wouldn't know because I don't think. If you look at his age now, how old is he? 32, 33.
Yeah.
I think once you've been captain before, to bring him back as captain, I don't think it'd make any sense. I think they were talking about, I was on Pak Passion, they were talking about Shan Masood potentially being captain, but I don't know. That might put a lot of pressure on his batting, and he's improved quite a bit from what he was, but it might make his batting regress. It's difficult. Personally, I think, you know what, I'd give it to Babar. Because I think he's got the quality to maintain his batting whilst being captain. I think your best player should be your captain, especially in Pakistan's case, because there's so much of a gap with the other players. I think it's an age problem as well, because we've got youngsters in Shane and Naseem, but then the seniors are a bit too old now. As such, Shafiq Azhar at 34, 35, players retired at that age. I don't think they can go as long as Yunus and Misbah. They were anomalies. They stood out. As such, Shafiq Azhar never took on responsibility. So I think they need to phase them out. I don't think they'll get rid of them quickly. Maybe drop them initially for 1 or 2 test matches. Bring in new players. To be honest, I don't know Pakistan domestic that well, to be honest. I don't know who could come in. There's a player called Usman Salahuddin they talk about. Another player called Haider Ali. He's more of a limited overs player at the minute, but it's bloody youngsters.
But it seems like from kind of information that I get or people I talk to, they said lots of players who are really good do not get an opportunity to play in Pakistan team because of, again, there's always talk about favouritism, nepotism. That's all part of the parcel of the game. But it seems like time and time we've been crying out for somebody really good to come in. Like everybody's been campaigning for Father Alam to come in, and today, unfortunately, oh dear me,
it's too late for him now. I think to be thrown into England, on a tour against Broden Anderson after being 10 years away from international cricket in test matches, it makes no sense. Only Pakistan would do that. What's the planning behind that? I think the investment in Asad Shafiq has been a waste. He's
got 900 at number 6, man.
He averages about 38.
No, but somebody who can get 900s, which is more than Gary Sobers at number 9.
They've been on flat wickets, soft runs. When the chips are down, he doesn't do anything. He's too timid. He still comes across as a 25-year-old. That says it all. When I was looking at his age, I was thinking, how's he 34? He's never taken any responsibility.
He's actually an unsung hero, isn't he? He hasn't been given any credit. Although he's done well over the years, he has been around for a long time. But nobody ever talks about him as a good batsman. It's
similar to Hafiz. He's like an ice sculpture in the desert. They look good, but then they just melt, fade away.
Maybe time to get Inzi out of the retirement.
That's Yunus, get Yunus Khan back in.
Get Yunus to get his pads on tomorrow and say, you come in and make a change.
That's a player that we miss, Yunus Khan, he was class.
Yeah, he was a fighter. I mean, he's one of the best players who's actually batted longest in second. He's got more hundreds, I think, than anybody else in second. Under pressure when the chips are down, he's actually been there for it. But again, the questions have to be asked. He's a batting coach at the moment. So what's been happening is, to me, the last test match was not lost. In England, chasing the number of runs, it was lost when Pakistan batted second, and for them to get out for what 150 or whatever it was. That was absolutely shocking. The fact that they couldn't even score as many runs as they wanted. For them the batsmen who were there, and an easy wicket, which England proved. To get 277, they chased that down. Then you've got 2 days. You can bat whole day and not get worried that yet people threw their wicket away. And that's the frustration of fans, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you when you sit at home and watch cricket, do you have to throw stuff at TV and stuff?
I do, to be honest. in test matches, I've got a habit of sometimes, when obviously there's a long time without a wicket, maybe go make a cup of tea, then hopefully there's a wicket as well. Usually when Pakistan are batting, it's usually I try not to leave the room because I know there's going to be a collapse around the corner. So when they're doing well, I've got, I stay put because I think if I leave the room, come out, they're going to be all out. But the thing with Pakistan is, in test matches, I don't think in tests and ODI at the minute, we've got the players to get high up in the rankings, because having a look at the rankings, we're about 7th, 8th, and it's not good viewing,
Do you know, talking about rankings and stuff, do you know, Fuad Alam's first class average is 6th in the world?
Yeah.
Highest first class.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
And it's 56 average at domestic level, first class level. Unfortunately, that for reasons, I don't know, nobody knows why he was never selected.
I think maybe because they said, they wanted players that looked good technically, like in such a field. But if you look good technically, you need to make runs. Sometimes I know technique's important, but look at, for example, in India, Dhoni, his technique wasn't textbook, but what a player under pressure. Their main rivals. I'm always hesitant sometimes to give Indian team credit because we've got that rivalry. But what a player. Dhoni under pressure. That's where our players, they fall short, especially our so-called seniors.
Yeah, well, I always said that this is one of the things that over the years and years they've been hiring top coaches all sorts of people.
That's what
the one thing, right, that none of them have been able to rectify, and I suppose that only can be done individually if you're people, is that having the guts when the chips are down, somebody to take up and say, I'm going to go and win this test match, or I'm going to want to do change. Imran Khan was probably the only, the one that we had who had that belief, self-belief. It seems, chai pini hai yaar, mere cup pakdo mein aata hu. That's the sort of thing, the attitude. Some of the players go out and they come out. There were all sorts of Pakistani jokes, around with the cricket team. We've got Wahid Gul Sahab, welcome to the program. Chaudhry Arsalan Sahab was there. Nasser Latif Sahab is Rasha Latif's older brother.
Oh, right.
Bhai Sahab, Kaptan ko na batana ki hum bhi program kar rahe hain, wo kahin hamari dant na karenge. We're criticizing. He was a good player. Rasha Latif was an exceptional keeper and exceptional player. Also, Sabina Hassan joined us. Welcome to the program. Ayush Bhai, sorry. Wasim Akram, as well as when he was captain, he played to win. Yeah, he did, of course. Wasim Wakar. There was, I think, what's with the Broad and if you think about Broad and Anderson, they've got kind of rivalry between themselves.
Yeah.
Who's going to get the more wickets? And that was the same with Wasim and Wakar. They wanted to get more wickets than the other.
The comparison, if you look at their stats, strike rate wise, Wasim and Wakar, hardly anybody's better than them. Probably the great West Indies bowling attack. You could make the argument, but I think Broad and Anderson are really good. But I think a lot of it's to do with the longevity, playing for a long time. Wasim and Wakar, although they played for quite a long time, if you look at their strike rate and bowling average, is phenomenal. That's why I regret, why couldn't we just bowled 2-3 years earlier, just see Wasim and Wakar play, honestly. Yeah. I started watching it, after 2003 World Cup, when players like Umar Gol, Mohammad Asif, Rana Naveed, these bowlers started to come in, Mohammad Sami, so you just heard stories of Wasim and Wakar, and we've not had fast bowlers since then who've been able to match them.
Well, I was fortunate enough to actually see Wasim and Wakar at their pomp. 92, England tour of the Test series. Absolutely phenomenal. The fast bowling was amazing. The actual reverse swing was absolutely devastating.
Jeffrey Boycott said Pakistan would have bowled them out with an orange.
Orange, yeah, because there was a lot of controversy about Pakistan tampering with the ball and stuff. It seems when Pakistan were playing and they were getting the ball to reverse, it was the label was cheating and this sort of thing. When everybody else learned it, it's the art. The reverse swing, the reverse art of reverse swing, and now the reverse swing is talk about it. But in the last Test match, it didn't reverse swing at all.
It didn't. So
does that mean when they were actually using saliva or the other things and stuff like that, does that make difference to the bowling? Because there was absolutely none. Everybody was waiting for Pakistan.
I think,
for the reverse swing.
I think a lot of it's to do with Pakistan's history. I mean, that's what Sim was saying, these Pakistani boys will get it to reverse. But it's not Wasim and Wakar anymore. It's two youngsters who come in, they need to learn that art. And I think a lot of the time we have this nostalgic view of the Pakistan team that, they'll get it to reverse, the fast bowlers will do this, the batsmen will have flair, but it's not the same team. There's a reason we're 7th in the rankings. And as fans, we're
deluded.
Not deluded, but I have this hope based on the history of Pakistan cricket. For example, obviously, you've seen 90s team, 80s team. I saw the team on the Inzamam, that had a lot of flair in it. Shoaib Akhtar coming in, players like Mohammad Asif, Yunus, Yusuf, Inzi in the middle order, Razak, Afridi. Even, for example, Afridi in test matches, he would take the game to the opposition. He did quite well in test matches for a bit. Razak, with the ball, he could get it to reverse. It's not the same team anymore.
Yeah, Azhar Mahmood was around, a few good players. Yeah. Those days, Danish Canary was very good. He played brilliantly for somebody to get 261 test matches.
Danish Canary was a top baller.
He's highest wicket taker in Pakistan's...
that 2005 series against England, after the Ashes series, Canary was class. I think he was the highest wicket taker in that series. Him and Shoaib were brilliant.
What do you think of England? Come on, we live in England. We should be talking about England now. Come on. Who are you impressed with the England side?
I think...
a bit difficult question.
You know what? I just always follow Pakistan.
Bradfordian supporting Pakistan. Come on.
I think, obviously, Joe Root's obviously a star batsman. Ben Stokes. But I think from the last test match, I think Butler came back well. From his wicket keeping was shambolic. It's like, as he said, Kamran Akmal. He was dropping everything, but the way he batted was brilliant. The way he swept Yasir Shah, and he brought it obviously England closer, was amazing because you just needed one dismissal, for Pakistan to get either Wokes or Butler. Again, Wokes was another one who was quite good. He always performs against us, doesn't he?
Yeah, they always do all that. There's always somebody who hasn't done anything for years.
Yeah.
And suddenly comes Pakistan
make them look like
superstars.
Used to be Rangan Herat used to make look really good as well. Although he was a good bowler, he was out of form. He used to come against Pakistan, fell into Shane Warne.
Was it you mentioned that best player? Do we think that Joe Root being best player and best captain and being captain has made him a better player? On those bases, Babar Azam should be Pakistan captain then.
I think, for a bit, Joe Root was struggling in the sense he wasn't converting his 50s into 100s. I remember that. And, he had quite a lot of criticism, and they were saying it was the captaincy that had a slight effect on his form. But I think Babar's class, and I don't think captaincy would affect. There's nobody else for us to make captain. I think I'd rather have Babar with a couple of new youngsters in the batting lineup rather than having Babar having to carry Azhar Ali and Asad Shafiq, because Azhar Ali and Asad Shafiq are not senior performers for Pakistan. They can't take on the mantle of being the main run getters. So I think I'd rather put in some youngsters. And I think Babar's a role model. The way his batting is. I think youngsters can follow him rather than follow somebody like, obviously I love Shahid Afridi, but you can't give him as an example because he was just a maverick, and probably people are probably thinking, there's other words to describe Shahid Afridi, maybe crazy, that sort of thing. But crazy is good from time to time, especially in Pakistan cricket.
Well, if you say maverick, I suppose that fits into the category of somebody, somebody who was just always exceptional. Yeah, he was just one, maybe not as good as he should have been.
Yeah.
But because of this thing about him, there was an aura about him, the sort of things he did.
He took feet into the opposition.
It just did it, and probably didn't do it as well in his cricket day. But he did have 2009 T20 World Cup, really was...
Players like Shoaib Akhtar and Afridi, they're more than stats. They're just there, they have that aura about them, as you said. There's something about them that it hooks you in. And you need players like that. Flintoff used to be like that as well. Yeah,
Flintoff was an exceptional player. Yeah. We've got Mohammed Imran joined us on Facebook. Assalamualaikum, welcome to the programme. We're basically, I think that's about it for today. What do you think? Let's look tomorrow. How are we going to look at tomorrow? Who do you think will get the runs, and what are you hoping? What do you think will be Pakistan total tomorrow?
I'm hoping 350, Babar double 100, but I think realistically, if we get 200, I think we'll get 200 odd. Don't think we'll get any close to. I don't think we'll get 250. But I think it depends if Rizwan can stick around, Yasir Shah can stick around, help Babar out. But I think Babar needs to be careful outside the off stump.
Do you think this test match will go for 5 days?
I think if it goes for 5 days, that means England are batting last. It depends how much they'll be chasing.
Well, they chased 277, so...
I think on the 5th day, I think they'd struggle. But I don't know, I think, to be honest, the way it's looking, if I was to be realistic, I think Pakistan will get whitewashed. I think it'll be over within 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, because if England win, the series is over, isn't it? Really, they won the series tomorrow, and then the T20s come. But what we want to do is thank you for joining us. You could be back at this seat tomorrow. You can come and join us. We've got another seat, so if anybody wants to join us, come and see it. An England fan would be welcome, but Pakistan fans, if you want to be part of it, please join us. Send us a message on Facebook, and if you want to be on that seat. There's another seat here which is missing. We can have you. You can give your views here on Mac Digital Sports Channel. We shall see you tomorrow. Allah Hafiz. Pakistan.
Zindabad.